September 2nd, Amish Sundays with Bad Gouda and the Specialists.
That was fun. It was my first time throwing a show, and I was living here at the time for probably 2 or 3 weeks. We hadn't even had a schedule planned at all at that point. I don't think, maybe something like we might have had Halloween planned, and that was about it, because Frankel was a little bit less gung-ho on throwing a lot of shows, and I was moving in gung-ho about throwing as many shows as possible, and we were able to meet in the middle on throwing an afternoon party, like a dage, and it was a Sundage because there was no school on that Monday. That Monday was Labor Day. There was a bunch of ideas thrown around, and of course JD said Amish party, and I really, really liked that idea. We went with that, and it was just gonna be like a nice little Sundage afternoon of just hanging out, drinking, and being Amish. Actually, at first I was like, let's do. Can we do acoustic like an acoustic set? Like just let's just have Gouda and the Specialists do like 2 acoustic show, like no sound, nothing, just like very intimate and no lights, no just acoustic. And so he agreed to that. Frankel agreed to that, and then Specialists came the day of, and they were plugged into the PA, and it sounded really nice. And I was like, can we just plug in sound PA? And we were just like, yeah, let's just do it. So it turned into a show. It wasn't like super. How many people came? Maybe like 30 or some shit. Yeah. It wasn't a crazy banger or anything, but it was a lot of fun. It was good seeing everybody since it was the first show of the semester.
Ollie run, Ollie run, Ollie run, oh run, Ollie run, he's Amish, he's Amish, he's running for his Amish, he's running Amish, he's running.
September 29th, Fern and Marylark, Gallons of Pork pre-party.
That was cool. That was Colin Waldron, Chris Sorbonne, and Danny Tropiano, and they were jamming here like that whole month. Yeah, like I heard them practicing like just about like every other day.
They were supposed to.
So Oktoberfest was October 13th, Big Shrimp and Motret. That was very frustrating to put together because of the amount of acts I had to go through. And I ended up with an act that didn't even exist. It was supposed to be with Peak. That was actually, that was the first show that was planned of the year. That was planned back in like August. That was planned for a long time. That was announced with Big Shrimp's fall tour, and we were supposed to do that with Peak. Peak is like this jam band that played the Oak once, and they wanted to play the Spleen, and Frankel gave them that date, and they bailed out on it like 2 weeks before, and so I was like, all right. So then I went and I got Mary Lark. And then Mary Lark bailed out about like 2 days before. due to a conflict, and then I was like, oh, let's see what the specialists are doing. And I got the specialist, and I was all hyped about that. And they, as far as October 13th, they were supposed to play the show, and Tommy was on his way up, currently the drummer at the time for the specialist, and his car broke down on the way up. And about an hour before the show, I was informed that the specialist would not be playing. So I looked around the room. I was just like, I mean, Christian, they kind of offered it up. Mo was like, come on, let us play. Christian was like, let us play. And then Colin went and grabbed his real book from campus or something. And Colin Waldron, Mo Mastro, and Christian Hickey played as a trio. Frankel dubbed them the Mo Tret. They sat down in a circle and played some jazz standards for about 25 minutes. Then I kicked them off, and Shrimp went on, and that was Jagger's first time playing the Spleen. He had a good time.
A lot of people's first time seeing Jagger.
A lot of people, and Jagger was only 17. That was probably the youngest performer ever to play the Spleen, to my knowledge. 17-year-old Jagger. It was fun. We debuted Down the Drain at that show.
Pick me
This other kid, Aiden, he never lived here, and he actually never even went to school here. Like, while this was a thing, he's visited for a few shows, and the Hung Men have played in the basement. But he was biking down Cowpath like his first year here when he transferred, and he ruptured his spleen because he fell.
Yeah, I know the story.
Yeah. So he got airlifted and whatnot, and of like, oh, yo, one day we should start a venue, call it the Spleen. You know what I mean? He was also thinking about this song called "Night at the Spleen." There's a rock song.
Yeah, there's a song called that.
Yeah, he was thinking about that song for some reason. I never even heard that song, but he was also, I don't know. So Mike, Jake, and Spencer would live here first, right? So they're like, okay, we can totally throw shows in this basement.
Next on the list, October 19th, Gnarly Chaplin, Jigsaw Youth, The Enablers, and Steven's Vagina.
That was that was two shows in a row where we had a pop-up act, and for not so satisfying reasons, I guess.
Steven's Vagina happened because the show was mostly like out-of-town bands, and they were running kind of late. So Gnarly Chaplin who was supposed to headline the event. They ended up going on first, I think, and then
they were all traveling together. That was the problem. Jigsaw Youth and the Enablers, they were all traveling in like multiple cars, where some members were in each car. Like, they weren't traveling as bands, so we couldn't even send anyone on other than Chaps. And like, I felt bad. We all felt bad, like putting Chaps on first, considering like they should be headlining. And that's why me, Steven, and Colin went down there. All the sets were cut really short. They were only like 30-minute sets for everybody. But it popped off. It was actually a really good show.
Too. Like, back then, it was like unusual to have punk bands playing, but this was crazy. It knocked down the house.
A lot of moshing.
Yeah, lots.
That was like the first big mosh show.
Before it started becoming a regular occurrence. The Spleen, of all the venues in town, has always remained my number one. I think the thing I'm going to miss the most is, like, the Spleen was the place where I felt the most like myself. There are things that, like, growing up back at home, I would be, like, scrutinized for, that over here will be celebrated. And even at places like the Dad Shack, I feel like I couldn't do the same things. I feel like I can't even wear crazy ass costumes at the shows anymore unless there's like a theme. You know, if it's my own show, that's a different story. But like, I can't just like randomly wear a sailor cap to a party anymore.
October 27th, Halloween, was Lucid, Bad Gouda, and Chameleon Eyes. And that was my favorite Halloween show probably ever that I was a part of. And that was so much fun. That was the first show I feel like I threw where I was like, wow, this was a fucking banger. Like, this was really fucking good. It's just always so fun on Halloween to just like look around the room and just laugh and see all the ridiculous costumes.
I was Nick Wagner for the night.
Gouda did Ghostbusters, and I was in charge of getting the Ghostbusters uniforms. And I thought we could slide by with child sizes because I'm a pretty small dude, and the child sizes look pretty big. And they were like, I got like extra large child size Ghostbusters costumes, and they were way cheaper than buying like the real ones. It saved us like a lot of money, so I went for that. And I was the only one. I didn't even fit that comfortably in mine, but I was able to do it. Frankel's looked absolutely absurd. It was ridiculous. And Stevens, he like ripped. He just like kind of ripped it so he could play the drums and like have some flexibility. It was really funny though, and it was actually I really enjoyed that Gouda set. We went in and out of Ghostbusters throughout, and at the end of the show we had like everybody. We had Jeff and Gabby come up and do a sax battle. We had Ben come up on percussion, which was cool. It was the first time Ben played with us since the old Bad Gouda. And Mo came up, and me and him did a guitar battle. It was during Hot and Sweet, and it was ridiculous. I just remember the roar after that was over. I was like, holy shit, that was fucking great.
And then just when you think it's all over, it burst into Killing in the Name.
And then it was Chameleon Eyes, and that Chameleon Eyes set was like really fucking good. At the time, it was one of my favorite sets I saw at the Spleen, until we'll get to what I thought was probably my favorite set at the Spleen. But Chameleon Eyes always brings the house down, and on Halloween, forget it. Like, everybody in the front row dancing to like the heart I couldn't keep. Like, that was awesome.
November 9th, the Spleen Slamboni.
So the Spleen Slamboni
Biggest fucking rave ever.
Spleen Slamboni was the first rave ever at the Spleen. This was now, by this point in the semester, was when I started to take like front seat on this and start to be like, all right, let's throw some really cool parties now. Like because I don't know if word was out yet that we weren't having the Spleen again, but I think it was kind of sensed, and I was like, we gotta just do everything. And the rave was something we never did before, and the church raves were always cool and talked about. I was like, let's do it. We knew a lot of people who could do it, and we got Sozman, who was DJ Dadbod, and we got Smokestacks, which was awesome because Smokestacks is actually like a pretty big name out there. So it was awesome having Smokestacks come, and he brought the house down. And then I gave Sean Devaney the opening slot
DJ Snoop.
DJ Snoop. But it was just those three, right?
Yeah.
But it started off pretty weak. It took about like an hour and a half, 2 hours even maybe, for the show to actually get going. I was nervous that nobody was coming, and like the rave looked ridiculous because it was just stupid. And then it just popped off. Like, I think once Sozman started, like, crowds just flooded in. It was, turned out to be really fun. I wanted to do a rage stick competition, but me and Hannah Farrell were the only ones that had rage sticks. but it was fun. There's some really good videos of people just fucking getting down to some EDM, packed floor. It was super fun. I had a great time.
It's cool, man. It's good. It's a good vibe. It's a good show.
It's a good vibe. You know, I really can come here and be myself and disco dance and be whatever I want to be, really.
As a kid that was on the streets before this and living on the streets, I feel like this has really gotten me to the place where I need to be.
It's become his home.
It's become my home.
Yeah, and then for the final show of the fall 2018 semester, we have the bar mitzvah.
Sure, I need all the yarmulkes you have. Do you have any curls too? We have ribbon here.
Bar mitzvah was like the rupture of the fall semester. Different though, because like not nearly as many bands, but
only 2 bands.
It was. I was working on it. It was like my project for a while. I got bar mitzvahed, and it was very interesting.
We put a lot of work into that.
That was my second favorite Spleen show of all time. That was for a long time it was my favorite Spleen show. I guess I have bias behind it, but it was just pretty. I don't think I would be wrong to say it was probably the most unique party ever thrown. Like
it was bizarre, but at the same time it was amazing.
Because we had a group of close friends all go to the temple and watch me actually get a fucking bar mitzvah service. That's when it became real to me. That's when I was like, is this actually happening? Then we all walked over from the rabbi's temple all the way to the Spleen across town and walked in, and there's already people here. We brought in a shit ton of food that the rabbi gave us, a lot of challah bread.
Pesto pasta.
And next thing I knew, the rabbi was at the door of the Spleen, coming in with his kid.
We did Havdalah in here.
We did this ceremony called Havdalah, which is basically the end of Shabbat. And we all sat around the table in the living room, or I guess the dining room you can call it. And
it had like this huge candle wick.
Okay, so who knows what Havdalah is?
Right here.
Right here? You know what Havdalah is? Give it to us, Alex.
No, not
Come
tonight.
on.
Tonight's not the night. Jared knows now.
No, what are we doing?
We're
yeah.
That like they lit it, and like there must have been like a few people going like, "Yo, this house is gonna set on fire."
Yeah, no, it was scary. I was holding that. He gave it to me to hold, and I was like, I don't fucking trust myself with this. Like, I feel like everything in this house is flammable. Holding this huge fucking candle is like, I'm just thinking like, oh my god, I hope this house doesn't blow up.
Okay, so that's the part that we'll all do together, alright? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I need my hands. Okay. Actually...
But it was really nice, and it was really cool just seeing the rabbi in this. It was like worlds combining. It was really wild. And then after that, we did a capped cocktail hour, and capped with Ethan, like, absolutely brought the house down.
Was the roast after that, or like?
No, we had about an hour gap. I tried to make it like a bar mitzvah. Like, I wanted that to be the cocktail. That was early. Wasn't that like 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
So Cap played about 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then I had about an hour gap where there was no MC for my own bar mitzvah. I was my own MC. I hosted what was it, Coke and Pepsi, and that was really funny watching everybody. It was a small group of people playing, but like it was really funny watching like Adam Becker go back and forth on Coke and Pepsi, and he got out like 3 times in a row. It was awful. And It was fun. Like we played some like throwback middle school music around the speakers around the house, and then eventually, like an hour later, Gouda took the stage, and until Chocolate Town, that was probably like one of the longest sets ever at the Spleen. We played like an hour 15 minutes of we did pretty much all the hits, and it was fun. It was a good set.
Played for a combined 3 hours.
Yeah, we closed that first set with it was actually the only 2-set Gouda show ever. We closed that first set with Warmth by Gnarly Chaplin, and in the middle of it, Will came up, played the guitar, and they threw me in the chair, and I went across the whole room. Now, like these ceilings are low, like these pipes are low, and I'm up in the chair in the crowd, well, in the middle of Hava Nagila. I forgot to mention that. We went into Hava Nagila in the middle of Warmth, and I'm up in the chair in the middle of the crowd, and they're passing me around back and forth. And I wanted Steven to do it too, so Steven came out from behind the drum kit, and we had Jonah go and play drums. So now it was like a whole new band in the middle, playing Hava Nagila in the middle of the Gouda set. And then they like sit back down in the chair. I was like, oh god, what are they doing now? Then I'm playing, and they lift me up in the chair. I think it was like JD and Jonah and Steven. And like I'm like fucking ripping a Hava Nagila solo up in the chair. That was one of my favorite fucking moments. I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And then we went back into Warmth and closed the set. And then after that, that was when we went right into the candle lighting ceremony. Candle lighting ceremony was actually more of a roast, and it was really funny. I didn't expect it to be that much fun. It was great. I prepared roast for a bunch of my close friends around the room.
Gnarly Chaplin happens to remind me a lot of the movie Spring Breakers. Looks like a good concept. Starts off out of the box, interesting, and has your attention. But then it goes on for way too long. You have Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, James Franco. You're destined for success, but you can't make it past coming off as a low-budget Netflix movie. Oh well, that's one less band to compete with for the main stage at O-Fest this year. That's enough of me ripping out Gnarly Chaplin and being a dick. Thomasina, Mikey, Will, Jeff, Schlag, and Jonah come up and light candle number 6.
And they prepared roast for me.
Yo, do you guys remember when Jared tried to play Gnarly Chaplin about 20 minutes ago? That's all.
And it was really just great fun and super funny.
You gotta understand that like no one else can pull this off. They're not only will they not be capable of pulling it off, but they're also not allowed to, because that would just be straight up unoriginal.
After that was over, we went straight into the second Gouda set, which we dubbed as Fakakta Gouda, and we did all songs by Jewish artists. We did Sabotage and Hallelujah and Sweet Caroline. We brought up the Capped Horns. It was a fun set. We had a lot of guests. We had Alex Schlag sit in. We had Colin Waldron sit in. We had Will Hardin sit in. We had tons of sit-ins, and it was a great time. And I think by this point, we kind of knew the Spleen was coming to an end in the spring. And then we took spring break, or we took winter break. Took winter break, and we came back for the spring semester.
What am I going to miss about it the most? Probably the fact that it's a safe space for people who don't really feel like they fit in the outside social activities like frats and whatnot. I'm going to miss the music as well and the ability to just pass out anywhere
the beautiful
here.
Fucking people. And
the people as well.
Family vibes that we have here.
The good vibes, the warmth.
The fucking love that is just spread around this goddamn place.
It's the shit, man.
That's what I'm going to miss the most.
The final Spleen semester. Beginning with January 26th. Gallons of pork, the enablers, and scum shots.
So January 26th was also dubbed as Shaolin Pleasure. That was Frankie Krungus who came up with that idea. The bill was put together mostly by Mo. I gave him the date and I said put the bill together, and he did. And the energy in that room was pretty surreal and awesome, because I think actually this was the first show where everybody knew that this was the last semester of the Spleen. By this point, it was well known. Rupture was even announced. I put up the whole schedule for it. Changed a lot, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the semester. But at this point, like, people already knew what shows were happening, and like there was like this, like, the fact that it was such a heavy show and a ballsy show. I think there was so much energy in the room that night of like, this is fucking it. This is the last semester. We're gonna fucking party. And we're gonna fucking go wild. That was one of my favorite shows that I didn't play. Like, that was just straight up fucking pure energy during Crackman the Enablers. Like, I have a great video of just crazy mosh pit during that, and it was just super fucking ballsy. It was a great, really good show. I had a great time. I remember Jared Miller's super fucking good show as well. February 2nd was another typical Dad Shack show Lucid wanted to bill it as, and I took their word on it. So it was Lucid, Hilltop, and Ethan Tepper. Ethan opened up the night. He did a very good set. It was your only time ever doing a solo set at the Spleen, right?
Yeah.
So that was awesome, and his sister was there to see it, and that was very cool. And that was also the night after we played the Dad Shack together.
Yeah.
But that was a great show.
I did a 7-minute long guitar solo.
Yes,
at the end.
that was right.
And that's where my profile picture comes from. Like, people said they loved that.
I had fun working lights for him that night too, because he did Technicolor Merryman, and I was able to put on the reds and the blues.
We had to run through that. Like,
yeah,
the
we
day
practiced
before.
it. It was great.
And I like went into the Magic School Bus theme song in the middle.
Yes.
Great.
So after that was Hilltop, and that was a favor to those guys. Those guys are buddies of mine. They helped us get a gig in Albany in October, so I returned the favor to them by having them play the Spleen. And I didn't know how it would react, how the crowd would react, because they're like very Grateful Dead-y. Like, if you think like Gouda's a jam band, like, you gotta hear these guys. Like, they fucking jam way harder than Gouda does. And it was really chill. I had a lot of people tell me they really liked it, from like the really relaxed atmosphere versus like the contrast of the week before of the crazy mosh pits. So like, there's people laying back and listening to some Dead covers. I sat in with Lucid. That was during the time. I think that was my last time playing with Lucid, not with Lucid. Or I probably did it like 1,000 more times.
I'm gonna miss, coming here after a late night of getting fucked up, just to get more fucked up. That's what I'm gonna miss the most. The peoples.
February 16th. The second rave. Cupid Carnival with Dadbot, Jacked Up, Adam Bozarine, and Tony Arroyo.
I planned the Cupid Carnival before I even had acts for it. I loved the first rave so much that I was like, we have to do this again. And people requested we do it again. So I was like, of course, yeah, let's do it. And The Valentine's Day theme fell through. That did not come together like how it should have been. I think due to the fact that Valentine's Day is one of those holidays that aren't typically celebrated into the weekend. Halloween you celebrate into the weekend. Around the holidays stuff you celebrate into the weekend. Valentine's Day, I have learned that does not work on February 16th. So that part of it fell through. I wanted to make it like a big love fest, but that fell through. I've had a lot of people tell me this was a great show. I had people tell me it was their favorite. But it wasn't a rave. It just simply wasn't a rave. It was a nitrous party.
Dancing with nitrous.
We had a lot of nitrous balloons, and there was so much nitrous that wherever the tank was, the people were. So the tank was upstairs, and I told the tank runner who was running it, I was like, everybody's upstairs. There's acts in the basement, and nobody's fucking watching them because everybody's doing nitrous in the kitchen. So I said, bring the tank downstairs. So he brings the tank downstairs, and now all you hear is sss, sss, sss.
That was the case.
You can barely hear the fucking music, but everybody was downstairs. And then Sozman went up to him and said, "Hey, can you bring the tank upstairs?" And I didn't know he did that. And then I looked out from doing the lights. I'm like, oh wow, everybody's gone again. So I went back upstairs. Everybody's doing tanks like nitrous in the kitchen, and I said, "Can you bring the tank back downstairs?" And he's like, "Oh, I just got told to bring it upstairs." I'm like, "I'm telling you, man, let's keep it downstairs because everybody's gonna want to go downstairs." So we had it downstairs for the rest of the night, and people stayed downstairs for the rest of the night, and it was a good time. I had a lot of fun. It wasn't a rave, it was a nitrous party, but I had fun. It was a good time.
Was that also the show that Alex Van Dusen was doing live painting?
I think he did both raves.
Alright, well,
he did both raves.
Whatever it was,
Van Dusen did.
Is like he was painting some like tree that had like an opening in it that like was supposed to be a brain or something, but like it looked like a vagina tree. So everyone was just like, vagina tree!
February 22nd was The Specialist, Jigsaw Youth, and Rigid. That was a pretty kick-ass show. What I liked about that show was there was there was a gimmick. It was the pirate party.
Yeah, the pirate party.
I was gonna say there was no gimmicks, but it was the pirate party.
Under 24 hours before the party was supposed to begin, the Specialists decided to make it a pirate theme.
Put your weird film thing down. We don't have those on ships. All we have is a dry right hand.
Is that Rigid's debut?
Yeah, that
was Rigid's debut. That was the debut of Rigid. Yeah. I thought all the acts were really solid. I thought Rigid had a really good debut. I thought the Specialists were always good, and Jigsaw brought the heat. Which is a good show.
Represents freedom of expression for young college students who want to come and present their creative impulses that they've distilled into little musical things.
What are these like musical things?
Some people call them songs. I like to call them a lifetime. Good memories and college shenanigans. The nut that got away, the weather is changing. Yeah. Favorite Spleen show of all time was definitely first Pajama Party when Joe Rubio lived here and me and him donned grandma gowns, and it was the first time that I saw Sharuka Dog. And I remember I had the realization during the Sharuka Dog set that listening to their music is like listening to a John Cage piece.
February 27th, Funk Night. That was a largely hype party. That was the first time all year I put up flyers in Fine Arts, because I was like, this is a Suko event. Like, this fucking SUNY Oneonta funk ensemble coming and playing the Spleen, and with Professor Jeremy Wall. And everybody was so hyped, and it had the worst turnout ever.
Because it snowed.
The weather was so bad. I didn't realize it was that bad. I wasn't outside the entire day.
I'm pretty sure they canceled night classes that day.
I wasn't outside. I was not outside the entire day. And then I stepped outside for a second, like before the show started. And I was like, if I knew it was this bad, I would have canceled the show also.
Yeah.
Because it was bad out. Like, the people who came really wanted to come. It was fun. J-Will had an absolute blast, and he asked if he could come back. Alright guys, we're getting ready for you up in here. St. Oni's Day 2019.
Yeah!
Look at this.
Top of the morning, Oneonta. Happy St. Oni's Day. We got Guinness, we got baked potatoes, we got Celtic Rock, we got It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the most Irish city in America.
Right there. We got
baked potatoes. Baked
potatoes. And more potatoes. That's what we're looking at from downstairs today. See you guys this afternoon.
The show on the list we have is the St. Oni's Day party with Midnight Cartoons, Bad Gouda, and Turger.
So St. Oni's Day, that's also similar to Halloween. I find St. Oni's Day and Halloween to be very equally fun. Like, they're always known to gonna be fucking throwdowns, and they never disappoint. Here we go.
He's testing himself. Oh yeah, oh my god, it's like a million times.
Let's do it, let's do it.
Open the door.
Ready?
Right.
Let's do it, let's do it.
Come on.
Here we go.
Hey, it's the face who runs the place.
Cartoons, like the pop soft rock group. Then you had Turger, which was the instrumental prog group from Long Island, and they had like
I think Turger scared away. Turger was great. They were really good, but going from Midnight Cartoons to Turger was a very weird contrast.
Probably like the harshest transition I've seen in like Spleen history. And it's like at one point they even said like, dudes, you gotta cool it with the fucking mosh pits.
But
then Bad Gouda like brought everyone back, and they had a really hype set.
I really wish I was a girl.
Can I do the same thing in the dining hall? I think that guy's
every time I gotta quit.
Cop, you have to tell me.
Contact me for the planetarium. Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug the planetarium show. We got the Melon Club next to the bill. Yes, we are. Fuck you.
I have been driving, oh, I have been diving 60 feet under for you.
The thing about St. Oni's stages is that's the thing. It's like everybody's really fucked up, and that's the whole point. You're not supposed to like even like be awake at 6 o'clock. Like Gouda was probably wrapped up by 5:30. But it was good. That was probably one of the most packed parties here of the semester.
The Spleen? It's my home. It's where I've lived for the last 2 years, but it's where I've come every weekend for the last 4. It started when I came here. It's ending when I leave here. When I think of college, I'll think of this house. But I would like to say I love each and every one of you. None of this is possible without you guys. I appreciate everything this community has done. If you want to do something, just do it.
You have to do a Spleen affidavit to enter. You have to tell me what your favorite Spleen show was and why.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, besides this moment.
Besides this moment.
I mean, I love how you like have this
Because
right
like
now.
that's tough because this is a really good moment in my life. I feel like it's great. But what was the last time the Marijuanas played?
That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago, right?
Yeah.
That was a good one. But then also the last Specialist show that was here.
February?
Yes.
Yeah, that was dope.
So.
Oh yeah. All right, you passed.
All right, March 23rd, the first of 2 non-music parties, the Spleen Olympics.
Spleen Olympics. That was something I won't ever forget. That was an absolute killer time. This was by this point in the semester it was just like we're doing this, like we're throwing as many parties as we can, no fucking off weeks.
Yeah.
And the Spleen Olympics was started because Franco wanted to do a toga party or something along that. Yeah, Franco came up with the idea for Spleen Olympics, I think last semester though. I don't think that was started this semester. I think he came up with that idea last semester. And I was put to the test on putting that together. And I did. I came up with all these challenges of 3-bong challenge, joint rolling, which never happened. And then we did a beer pong tournament. And then we had the case race. And I would say it was the party was very successful.
Yeah.
We kept it low key. We only invited people who we knew and trusted because that wouldn't have been a fun party for cops to come. Friends and people were hyped to come out though. It was like, and everyone wore a toga. If you weren't wearing a toga, you looked stupid and you put a toga on. That's literally what happened. It was awesome.
Some people didn't have togas and they were taking down the curtains.
Yeah. Also, of course, that was like a cold day. That was a very cold day. It wasn't toga weather, but people still wore their togas, and it was great. There's videos of the opening ceremonies where Kenny's playing the trumpet.
Spleeners! Lend me your beers! I hereby declare the first and last Spleen Olympics!
And Danny and Julie took home the crown of beer pong, shocking many people.
The winner of the Spleen Olympics beer pong, we bestow these chalices to Danny and Julie!
The case race was my favorite. That was fun. That was super fun. We got 4 case races.
In the basement. Over the course of like 40 minutes,
and
the Specialist started jamming at one point.
Leading up to that, the Spleen Olympics was great because there was so much shit talking. Like me and Fiona especially were doing more shit talking than anybody. She was like, "Oh, like my team's gonna kick your ass," and I was like, "You know what? You probably are because you guys have fucking like they had like 4 really heavy drinkers, and my team was okay, but like they had 4 heavy drinkers, and our team, it was me, Alex Riley, Colin Waldron, and Holden, and we fucking kicked some ass. We dominated that case race, finished our whole case in about 40 minutes, and it was awesome. It was a great time. People just chugging. There's videos of that. People just chugging back, slinging their beers back while a bunch of people jammed. And that is why, Fiona, your team lost, because you decided to jam, or you decided to dance, while Will decided to jam, and that combination is unstoppable. So that's why you guys lost, because you guys couldn't stop the jams while we were focused on the drinking.
Last night of original music leading up to the rupture. Kind with Mellophobia.
Yeah, that show was interesting. So that was supposed to have Mary Lark on it, but they dropped the day before. And I just decided to make it a double feature. And I was a little skeptical about this show because there was no theme. This was actually this was good because we were coming off a streak of the gimmick after gimmick after gimmick.
This was just a straight up show.
The flyer I made for this was black with white font, and that was it. I didn't put any type of graphic on it. I'm like, let's just try to make this a show, you know? And that's about what it was. I was skeptical on it because it didn't have a gimmick, didn't have a theme, it didn't have... The headliner was a touring act. Mellophobiac's fairly new. It didn't really have an X factor, you know, that factor of getting people to come. And I think it was in more shitty weather, and it was Ian Fate's band, and I was just thinking like no one's gonna come, and in the beginning I was right. It was like 8 o'clock, no one was showing up. It was like 8:30, I was actually dressed up a little bit, not dressed up, but I had a button down on, and then I like went upstairs and changed into a sweatshirt because I was like, I don't think anyone's gonna come. And this was just when like the Spleen was like unstoppable. People just fucking poured through the door. Had a great turnout. Kind killed it. Mellophobia killed it. I was really happy to give those guys that kind of good show. They came from Rochester, so anytime I can make a touring band happy, it feels good. So thank you for coming out that night, folks.
I love the Spleen so much. It's a great house venue. Everyone's chilling. Everyone's in a good mood. It's a great place to be. The PA is good. The stage is good. The crowd's good. The promotion's good. I fucking love that place.
April 5th. Making time, breaking ground. Birthday party, Chocolate Town.
Yeah. So April 5th was Chocolate Town. The most rehearsed band ever. Like,
we practiced 3 hours worth of music over the course of like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Because Chocolate Town, that was not the debut of Chocolate Town. So Chocolate Town, I bet a lot of people did not know that Chocolate Town was in fact a band before that show. We started out as a rock combo. I got credit for playing Ween music. That was fucking cool. Like, getting credit to play Ween music was awesome. And we did a few shows at the Oak. We had fun. We all liked it. I thought Paquette liked it. He seemed like he wanted to take it on the road and make money with it. And then me and Frankel kept asking him when we were going to bring back Chocolate Town. And he kept putting it aside and making more cover bands, Zeppelin bands, whatever. He did a million bands. And he just kept shrugging it off. But me and Frankel still really wanted to fucking do it. And we're like, you know what? Fuck that. Paquette didn't make a good Gene Ween anyway. Ethan would make a way better Gene Ween. It was cool because it was mine and Ethan's first time doing a real project together and working together. So that was really cool, and we started rehearsals for that in December. We did 2 rehearsals, or it was other 1 or 2 rehearsals we did in the fall semester for a show that was at the end of the spring semester, because we said we're gonna make this awesome. We're gonna learn 40 songs, we're gonna play 30, and we are gonna make the whole night just Chocolate Town. We are not gonna have any openers. We are gonna give Oneonta a true Ween experience, a 2-hour, 15-minute set, a straight with encores, a straight up Ween experience, and that is exactly what we fucking did. And we made it Ethan's birthday party, so that was like the extra topping on the cake. And me and JD, like 2 nights before, went out onto the driveway and laid the sheet out and spray painted this big fucking black bookish. It was so cool. It was like so raw, so DIY, so fucking awesome.
My sister came back up for this show.
Yeah.
And we asked her to make the flyer for it. Which
She
had,
made
like,
an awesome flyer.
The Booknish like rising over the spleen. And then you had like me and Frankel's faces photoshopped over like one of Ween's profile pictures. And it's like a really good flyer. Like spot on everything we asked her to do.
And I gotta say, actually, I mean, I would say most people have heard of Ween or know Ween a little bit, but like don't really know them. And I gotta say, most people know Ocean Man. And I gotta say, for a show where people don't really know the music and knew going in they weren't gonna know anything, there was a lot of fucking hype.
The one thing I will say about that show was like this was another Nitrous show.
That was another Nitrous show.
And like there's a full recording of the set available, except if you listen to it like every few minutes, you'll be like,
Yeah, but not even every few minutes, like every few seconds you just hear. There was more Nitrous at that party, I think, than the Brave. We also had Matt Smith play a lot of songs with us on keys, which was super cool, and we had Jeff sit in on sax for your party.
Max came on with us for
Max did Ocean Man with us.
We had like the fog machine. We put a curtain up in the front.
Yeah, that was cool. We had like an opening where JD like did an entrance for us and brought the curtain down and went right into Buckingham Green with the green lights on and the Boognish behind us. We tried to make it as Ween-like, the way, if Ween was going to throw a show in the basement, we wanted to make it as Ween was throwing a show in the basement.
Don't be afraid to watch the hand of your creator. Sail through the dying tides, and if you taste the candy, you'll get to the surprise.
We couldn't throw the party without tricolored pastas. So we had a lot of tricolored pastas.
Candy and spices.
Candy and spices. Jonah went all out for
Beverages.
that. Jonah got a shit ton of candy that I got none of. Everybody ate all the candy.
I think like the most foodie parties at Secret Fine Dining.
There was a lot of food.
One of my favorite shows.
What was that, Greg?
Fucking Ween. That shit was so fucking delicious. Fucking that
took
shit
us to
was
Chocolate Town. Of course
They
it was
took us to
delicious.
goddamn Chocolate Town
So
and back.
I have
April 10th was the second funk night.
Closer to my
Now-
actual birthday than Chocolate.
Now
Town.
this was like a really hectic time because we just did Chocolate Town on the 5th, and Funk Night was the 10th, you said?
Yeah.
And then we did another show on the 12th. So there was so much shit all fucking stuffed into such a small time space. I was a little bit worried about the turnout for J-Wall because of that. And also because it already happened. Like, I was worried it would be a one-trick pony, kind of, and people wouldn't be that interested. But, and also we gave him this date because the weather was so bad on the last Funk Night that we were like, all right, like, even though he had a great time in February, we were like, let's do another one. Weather will be nicer. Was the weather nicer? No, the weather was fucking terrible again because it's Oneonta and it's the Spleen and we have a cloud over us. So weather was shitty and I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. And now this one, oh my god, did it take forever for people to show up to this. When we started, there was like 5 people. And we were like, oh boy, this fucking sucks. And then like out of nowhere, people just started coming and coming like while we're playing the set. And by the end of the set, it was like a packed show. Like, it was like an average Friday night crowd on a Wednesday night, on a random Wednesday night. Nothing special. Everybody had class on Thursday, but people fucking came out, and it was really great. It's also the famous show where Jay Will chugged Will's beer. Will only came with like a certain amount of beer, and Jay Will, like, the man, just thought he could chug Will's beer. Like, he asked for a sip and ended up chugging the whole thing. And it's like, all right, I'm going to keep this next to me for the rest of the set. And that's why Will has said Funk Night is canceled forever. So the disco party, April 12th, that was 2 days after Funk Night. And this was a really hyped party. This didn't have much promotion behind it from my end because...
But, like, it was, like, talked about from the beginning of the semester.
It was, like, a naturally kind of hyped up thing. I got requests for this more than anything. You should do a disco night, disco party. I'm like, alright, that'd be fun. People had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't really able to distinguish this from the raves exactly, but people told me they were able to. Actually, what I really liked about this one that we didn't do at the raves that I wish we did, which is why I actually think this one might have actually been better than those, is that we cleared out the whole upstairs. Everything at the upstairs was not like how we did for the Rupture, but we cleared it out pretty well, and so we could, yeah, we had.
It was really like the party was in the entire house.
Right. That's what we were going for. We were trying to make because that's how disco parties kind of were. Like they would have upstairs, downstairs, and so we wanted to just make it as authentic as possible. And we put a lava lamp out. We had nice lights going on. I think we might have had some snacks out and drinks and. Then the downstairs was popping. The downstairs was where the crowd kind of always went to, just naturally. And it's great. We went through a whole disco playlist that Spleeners were adding to throughout the week, and mostly JD's playlist though. But it was great. I think everybody was really satisfied with the outcome of that party. It was just one big dance party, and I liked how people were actually dancing. It was fun.
I'm gonna miss the great music. I'm gonna miss
atmospheric vibes.
I'm gonna miss the great music. Being able to drink in a basement with great music. And I'm gonna miss sweating in the basement too. Mostly just the drinks and the music.
And what was your favorite show, Sean?
What was my favorite show? Shit.
Oh wait, okay, I have another answer.
What?
I also liked when they had when Sos DJ'd and everyone. It was pretty lame. Last DJ set you had was lit. That was lit.
Yeah, that was fun. The one with the nitrous or without the nitrous?
With
the nitrous.
Oh, my favorite show was
that
the Ween
was the best
show.
one.
Ween show definitely.
Ween had the nitrous.
Ween show was the favorite one.
Last show before the Rupture.
April 27th cover show. My birthday, mine and Frankel's birthdays. The last show before Rupture. So now at this point, it was like there was some emotions now of like this is happening. Like Spleen is coming to an end, and I really, really, really like the cover show. I think that one is holding up to me a lot, like to a certain standard of really. I think that one's gonna come out in a year from now. I'm gonna look back at that one and think that's one of my favorite Spleen shows. Just usually with cover shows, they're always packed. You can always expect a packed cover show. Like that wasn't really a factor for me. I knew there was going to be a crowded show. But the bands at cover shows are usually pretty, like, they leave something to be desired. A lot of times they're unrehearsed. Like, they're These bands were really good. Primus, Elvis, Queens of the Stone Age, The Police, and South Park. Colin was behind the Primus band, and he was always like, come on, man, you gotta let me do a Primus band. And I'm like, sure, yeah, do it. Like, do it for my birthday cover show. And he ended up not doing Primus. He did the Grateful Dead.
No, and a lot of people were hyping that up too. Like, oh, the Primus set's gonna lead directly into the South Park set.
Yeah,
it's like they're gonna do the theme.
I
song.
tried saying, like, man, like, people aren't gonna really like that. It's kind of like, instead of doing Primus, he did the Grateful Dead. But I loved it. I thought they fucking did a great Grateful Dead set, and it gave me an idea for if I was doing the Spleen again next semester, I would have done a cover show where there's a gag band, and that would have been my thing. Like, every cover show from now on, there would have been a gag band where they say they're doing one band and then they do a completely different band. And was the Queens of the Stone Age band. I didn't really know any of those songs, but they sounded tight. They sounded good. The crowd was really into it.
Pasteurize and neutralize. Deep fried, give me some more.
And Ethan killed it with an Elvis set that he said wasn't going to be good, and I really enjoyed it.
We only had like 2 practices. One of them wasn't even with our drummer, Chris Zerbone. Without even practicing with Jeff at all, we killed it.
It was great, and the crowd was really into it. It was really cool seeing everybody sing Elvis songs. Everybody knew them. It was hilarious. And then I did a back-to-back. The Police band. So the Police band started as an idea. Me and Adam always wanted to do a project together. Me and Adam Becker. I'm like, well, I'm throwing this cover show for my birthday. We don't have any bands yet. We should do something. And Adam suggested the Police. Now, like, I'm not like not a Police fan. I like the Police, but I'm not so familiar with a lot of their stuff. But I was like, you know what? Last year I did the Rage band, and I had a lot of fun learning that material, and the Rage set was super fun at the Spleen last year. And I'm like, this year, why not do another band that I'm not totally familiar with and learn some material? And I did, and I had just as much fun, if not even more fun, playing the Police material. And that was a great group. That was me, Adam on bass, Will just straight up doing Sting vocals, so no guitar, just Will doing Sting vocals, and then Jonah on drums. And those guys all knew the songs. Like, people came into the practices knowing their stuff, and we all had a few practices, and we went out there. We just had so much fun. Playing him next to Will, it was really, really a treat and a lot of fun. He just had so much fun on the stage and gives so much energy. After that was the South Park set.
I read the intro disclaimer.
Yes, Ethan read the intro disclaimer. That was Bad Gouda. So we dubbed ourselves as cheesing our fucking brains out.
One of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, cheesing my fucking brains out. I was under the impression that Frank was ordering a Cartman hat, but he didn't. And I ordered a Stan Marsh hat. And I actually had a fucking real Stan Marsh hat with the poof ball, the red poof ball and everything. And he's like, oh, fuck, I didn't know you were doing that. But he actually looked good. He made himself fat. He like puffed himself up, and then he wore a blue hat, and he kind of looked like Cartman. And then Steven was supposed to do Kenny, but he didn't really do Kenny. We had fun. I had a lot of fun, and we invited JD. JD really wanted to do Chef.
He killed it as Chef.
He did Prostitute with us, and he did Chocolate Salty Balls. And Chocolate Salty Balls was probably my funnest song of the night.
Salty balls.
we're talking all things Rupture, all things 2019. It is a fantastic, beautiful day. Finally, in the gray cold of Oneonta, but we love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Happy to be here. Jared and Nick, what's going on, guys?
What's up, Sean? How you doing?
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. So, what are the details for the Spleen Rupture, and what can we expect on that beautiful day of music?
So we got, it's the Rupture.
The day of a Spleenment.
It's the day of a Spleenment. We have 9 very talented Oneonta, all Oneonta originated. We've had some great out-of-town acts in the past.
Yeah.
But for this, we wanted to keep this every act is Oneonta.
Homegrown.
Legacy, homegrown.
So it's going to be an all-day event of music, basically. So
12 to 12.
12 to 12. Okay,
Yeah.
so 12 to 12. So
12 hours.
Make sure to get your tickets because they're live right now. Online, everything that you purchase right now will be going toward the event that Jared and Nick could set up to make it even more hospitable than ever, and they definitely will. I know you guys have had great refreshments, pasta in the past, so is there any good secrets you could give to us, the audience, about what may be going down at the Spleen, what may be event?
We'll have some food, we'll have some drinks, we'll have some shirts. Yeah.
Ooh, some shirts. So
yeah, we're getting those made by Oneonta,
We
of course.
just finished that design up today, so that will be
Oh,
getting
no.
sent
Wait,
out.
so you guys are actually having shirts for the event?
Yes.
Absolutely, Rupture shirts for sale to the public.
Yeah, so that's what we're saying, though. Like, I know a lot of people, I mean, I've been guilty of this as well. You want to wait until you get to the show to buy your ticket. You're just too lazy to do it. This is a little bit different just because we want to make this as hype as possible.
The Rupture, May 4th. This was something that I didn't think would ever happen. This was just sounded like a myth. Like a fucking something that was way off in the future. We could talk about it, but it's just I can never picture myself actually at the Rupture. Was the whole thing, and it happened, and it was fucking wild. It was everything and that I hoped it would be, and so basically, the idea for Rupture, the idea for this started in December. I really wanted to do a final send-off show that had everybody on it. And I wanted all these bands. I was like, we gotta fucking send this off and make this a blowout show. And then I was like, well, how about May 4th? I know it's finals week, but people come out during finals week. And that date clicked. I couldn't believe it. Keep in mind, there was fucking 36 musicians who played the Rupture. That is a lot of musicians to get to be in one place for 12 hours. That's insane. But that date worked with everybody. So we had Midnight Cartoons, Rootkit Disaster, Naughty, Specialists, Gnarly Chaplain, Bad Gouda, Marijuanas, Gallons of Pork, Chameleon Eyes. I missed Secret Beaches in there. And so 10 bands, and originally started off as 8 bands, minus Chaps and minus Rootkit. And a few weeks prior to the show, Andrew reached out to me and said, hey, Tommy's gonna be there, and Brian reached out to me saying he wants to do it. Do you have a room for us? And I was like, I'm not gonna say no. But at this point, we were starting at 2 o'clock with Midnight Cartoons, which I think was early. 2 o'clock is early to start a show. A 10-hour party is pretty long. But there was no way I was gonna say. There's no way I was gonna say no to Rootkit. So we squeezed it, and we put Midnight Cartoons on before 1 o'clock.
This is Parker Lyons here. He's at the Rupture. He's on mimosa duty.
Are you recording it right now?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
What are you gonna miss the most about the Spleen?
The good people, the good times, the good memories, the memories I wish I still had, and Mo. Definitely Mo.
Nice. What's your favorite show at the Spleen?
I can't remember which pajama party, but it was a pajama party. One of the pajama parties where Gnarly Chaplain played.
Oh yeah.
It was 2 years ago. I can't remember when.
The whole idea for this was just pretty much unrealistic. 12 hours. there's not something you do for 12 hours, much less party. Planning this was just ridiculous, because I wanted this to be awesome. So I set up an Eventbrite page, and I thought we gotta sell tickets in advance because we started coming up with crazy ideas. Like, we gotta get shirts. Shirts were a must. We can't not have Rupture shirts. So we had to get shirts. We knew those would be expensive. A lot of the Spleen shows this year had food, and I wasn't gonna make Rupture an exception. At first, we were thinking of just catering pizza or something, and then you actually gave me the idea of having band-related foods. You texted me something about that. It wasn't necessarily for Rupture, but you texted me something about that, and then I put the two and two together. And I was like, this should be the plan for Rupture. You can have tots for two. You can have Gouda grilled cheese, Rootkit disaster burger, gallons of pork, and I'm like, well, this is gonna be expensive too. So we gotta get some money, and the best way of doing that was by putting tickets online. And these tickets moved really slow at first. I was promoting the shit out of them after every Spleen show. I was saying, get your Rupture tickets, get your Rupture tickets. They were moving really slow. But they started to pick up a little bit before 420. It was right after we went on Sean Miller's radio show. Right after that, they started to pick up, and they hit 30, and we were only selling 60. And I was like, I'm gonna put out a low ticket warning, just to see what would happen. Even though there's still half of the tickets to go, I'm gonna put out a low ticket warning. So I put out the low ticket warning, and within like 5 hours, 6 hours, the show was sold out completely. I was like, wow. Just like simply putting a low ticket warning up on Instagram, show sold out. The show selling out gave it like a whole new burst of hype, because now there was people who were worried that they weren't going to get in. But what I ended up doing was I put up another 15 tickets for sale, and those sold out immediately too. But those went for $6, and I'm like, all right, all other tickets are at the door. But that was a big boost for us, because we were able to take in a lot of money to go out and get shirts and food. And the volunteer program came about because I was like, I can't believe I was thinking about doing this all alone. Like, selling food, managing the door, doing lights downstairs, managing the bands, and selling shirts. That would be impossible. So I was like, all right, I got to put a volunteer program together. These people are going to get free tickets. So put a volunteer program together, and I got about 30 volunteers, which was awesome. And they all did such an awesome job. People at the front did great with scanning tickets. We got Rupture wristbands, which were awesome. Those are like little souvenirs for everybody. We had the t-shirts. All the t-shirts sold out completely, and the food was managed really well. Everything came together. We made pork the day before, gallons of it. We had gallons of pork. We had a great menu that had everything on it, like I said before. Tots for two. I had a Rupture burger, a Rootkit disaster burger.
I would love the specialist.
The specialist sauce was great. I put that together. That had mustard and ketchup and relish in case you want. Was just something you can't even compare to any other Spleen show, just simply because of how successful it was something I'll never understand why. Like, I can't believe the amount of people that stuck it out for all 12 hours. That there was people that came in waves. We ended up surpassing 200 people. I expected to do close to 200, but we probably did about 250, which probably does break the record for the most people we've had at a party. But they were coming in waves. Like, people would come to see one band, and I saw people come at 12 o'clock for the mimosa cocktail hour, get a free mimosa, buy a shirt before they sold out, and then be like, all right, I'll see you guys later. And like come back at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at a normal time to see a party. So like smart people to like come and make sure you get a shirt first before. But it was like a religious experience of being at the same party with the same people, the people who were there for the first hour, and then the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th hours. Being there with those people was really special and like really gave you this sense of community of like it doesn't really matter how long the party is. It could have been 24 hours. And I think there was a group of people there who would have still been there because it was just like this place meant so much to so many people. And there wasn't going to be another chance to do something like this. This was it. You know, once you left, you were leaving. And if you came back even later in the week, the Spleen was not the Spleen anymore. You know, it was, we took everything's down now. So Rupture was the last chance, and we really pimped it up as much as we could. We did everything we said we were going to do and decorated the place up and made it look super nice for everybody. And it was just so amazing having Babs in town and Gabby and Derek and the Marijuanas and all those bands. Seeing that was who I was hanging out with when I was a freshman. And they were seniors. And now I'm a senior. And they're graduated, and that was so cool to be able to have everybody back at the same spot for one final throwdown, like knowing that this was it. That it really was truly unbelievable.
Like the past that is left behind here is like just as beautiful as the future can be. Like there was a lot of growth that happened here for me personally and for everyone that I've ever like known in Oneonta straight up. And it's just like, I don't know. This is such a proper send off. This fucking little Rupture shindig.
Get the gloves in there, Tom.
Oh yeah, we're working hard.
There you go.
Hell yeah. No, thank you, Spleen.
Favorite Spleen show ever?
Favorite Spleen show? Pajama Party. The first Pajama Party.
You were like the 4th or 5th person to say that one.
Yo, that was legendary. It was Sharuka Dog came up. They're incredible. And then Gnarly Chaplin just played like
September
just a straight up.
2016? 17.
Yeah, 2017. That was
One of a kind.
Yeah, a couple of my best friends from home came up for that show actually. So it like stands out for me.
It was like, you know, after the big ending with a little help from my friends, I quickly came to the realization that like I'm never gonna see half of these people again. Like, forget the bands that like aren't already broken up. Most of these guys are never gonna play another show in Oneonta. Like, Midnight Cartoons is the only one I can reliably say I will see in Oneonta again. The rest, like, the ones that aren't already broken up from this, like, I'll have to, like, catch somewhere in the city. And it's, like, really just this, like, all this moving on. It's, like, it's the end of an era. And, like, that hit me hard, like, immediately. I was like, tearing up as people were leaving the house.
It was like watching something die.
Yeah.
It really did bring closure, I feel like, because I mean a lot of these bands have been coming back to Oneonta for a while and have played the Spleen since they graduated, have played the Dad Shack. And I think for this to happen was a way for a lot of these acts. And a lot of them never really had a proper goodbye, I feel like. Secret Beaches, Naughty, they kind of fizzled. They didn't really have a proper goodbye, a proper ending.
It wouldn't have hit me so hard if this whole thing wasn't so ceremonious.
And I think doing Rupture was a way for a lot of these people, not just the bands, a lot of the people to come back and have closure with the Spleen and have closure with Oneonta to do one last hurrah with some of their best,
It's like
greatest friends.
5 bands doing their farewell set at once.
For a time yeah, too, I feel this way when you're on to another place. Yeah, the cell phone is not enough for me. Yeah, the long calls don't replace your face. Yeah, can't judge, just don't break your breath. Yeah, too little of your love to taste. We on a different way. Can't feel my body. And I've been searching for the light of my day to come and bring us back without changing our name. And
A faction of the community has moved on from this life, and I'm having difficulty coming to grips with that. No doubt a new legion of greats will rise up once again, but the old heroes have fallen, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to take it on my own. The Spleen is the scene.
As if nothing really matters. Woo! Too late, my time is gone. Send shivers down my spine.
3 favorite shows, I would say, off the top of my head. Probably my first one, which was 2016, and Chameleon Eyes was playing, and I'm pretty sure Pork played as well. My second favorite, and probably one of my most favorite, was Shaolin Pleasure. So, and then my third favorite show had to have been probably the Bar Mitzvah, because I came up with that idea. And then this is a pretty solid one. This is a pretty great show as well. Exhausting, but a great show. It won't be missed. 4 years of Spleen.
Intense. It really was, even for me being with Bad Gouda for now years, like since March of 2017. That was something really weird for me, is the fact that because now I was attached to the Spleen now, and I really was gonna miss the Spleen, and I was upset about the Spleen closing, and now like my band was playing their last show probably ever in Oneonta, and it was like 2 things ending at once. So that was something really, but then I was like, it's not even about that. There's so many other people, so many other bands that were doing the same thing. Now Gnarly Chaplain, Naughty, and Secret Beaches, and everybody, Chameleon Eyes, and it was just really, really special. It was so amazing to see. We had such generations of people that had something attached to the house, from the freshmen who came and saw shows this year and fell in love with the house, who are 18, to people who are long graduated, like I don't know, 26. We ranged all the way from 18 to 26. We have an 8-year gap of an 8-year period of people where old. You could be 18 years old. You could be 26 years old, and you still have some type of connection.
That's like half a generational cohort
Yeah.
right there.
You still have some type of connection to the Spleen, and you felt like it was your responsibility to be at Rupture and watch the Rupture happen and be there for the 12-hour party.
It's like he's seriously
Hey JD.
Yeah.
How many hours are we into this party?
9.
9 hours into this
9
party.
hours and 5 minutes, and I'm fucking exhausted, and we still have 3 more hours.
Woo!
That was the thing. I saw like.
Hey Steven, how many hours are we into this party?
Oh God, 8 or 9 now.
9 hours.
9-hour party? Jesus.
What's your name? I'm Greg. What's your name? Zach. Zach. Yeah, I'm about to graduate.
Hey, you want to say anything to the Spleen documentary?
Yo, the Spleen is great, and I love all you guys.
What the most about it?
The good times.
What was your favorite show ever at the Spleen?
My favorite show ever was probably my first one, which was like Sharuka Dog and I forget who, but that was a great show.
Was that last year?
Yeah, it was.
Hello, how's the documentary doing? I'm drinking water because we're responsible at the Spleen. My favorite show? Scum Shots.
Scum Shots.
Enablers.
That was a good one.
Those clowns. Shaolin season. But the Rupture.
Anything you want to say?
Shruka Dog and Gouda and marijuana's last year, fall semester, sophomore year. Over a year ago from today, it's one of the most profound shows I've
Gouda
ever
wasn't
seen.
on that bill.
Huh?
Gouda wasn't on that bill.
Really? Oh, well, all the other guys. Gnarly Chaplin, baby.
You guys having fun at Rupture?
Fuck Spleen
will. Holy shit! That last set was just unbelievable.
The basement was hot and sweaty.
There was levels of sweat. You would come in through the front door and you would immediately feel heat hit you. You go in the kitchen and you would feel another level of heat from the food cooking all day. And then you would open the door, you would feel the heat come out, and then you would go downstairs and it would be unbearable. It was just it was worse than any frat party I've been to. It was unbearable.
It's not hot, it's humid.
But that was the most packed out I've seen the Spleen. And to have it be that packed on the final show, and I felt almost bad because there's people upstairs who I'm sure wanted to go downstairs, but the heat and the amount of people made it like impossible to do.
It was everything a Spleen show should be. The cops even came for the first time in over a year.
The cops came during the marijuanas.
City girl, city girl, city girl, it's your world.
That was the first time I ever had to tell a band that was like fucking killing it to like 80 people, shut the fuck up. I had to do that, and that made me feel like shit.
It was like meditating.
I heard that, and I saw pictures afterwards of him doing that. I told everybody, no, if you want to smoke, you gotta go around the corner, and people followed instructions for the rest of the show. There was nobody out on the porch other than the volunteers and me and Frankel, and the rest of the show went over well. Super well. Pork absolutely killed it.
I got to sing 2 songs with gallons of pork.
When Chameleon Eyes went on, I threw everything out the window. I was like, I didn't even put volunteer jobs for Chameleon Eyes as set. I said, no one sign up. I want everybody to witness this. It was the most surreal intermission ever between Pork and Chameleon Eyes. I threw on some Dead. We were listening. I made a playlist that day of all acts who originated in Oneonta, and at this point in the night, there was nobody leaving. Nobody was leaving anymore. There was people who were still coming. I let a few people in around like 10:40 who were just getting there for the first time. Like, did Chameleon Eyes go on yet? I'm like, nope. And I'm like, oh, good, here, just in time. Like, you guys don't even know. Like, we're on the 11th hour. We're on the 11th fucking hour here. You guys are just showing up and just, like, ready to party, like, coming in with your beers. Like, it's like, you guys don't even know. You guys are about to walk into, like, the worst sweat of your life. But once it was, like, around 10:40, there was no one leaving. You were coming. You were either coming or you were staying. And I just threw on some Dead tunes and just looked around the room and I was like, wow. Like, this is, everybody was just in, like, the greatest spirits and had such a high. They didn't even have to be high. They didn't even have to smoke weed. Everybody was just like, I didn't even think it was sad. It was definitely sad. There was a feeling, but I feel like the feeling of happiness and pleasure was greater than the feeling of sadness at this point because Chameleon Eyes was about to start and, like, shit was about to fucking really hit the fan and be awesome. I started out, I believe, on the stairs, and then I walked downstairs, and I didn't see any place for me to go. I saw nowhere for me to go, and I didn't want to push anyone, so I went into, like, the furthest back corner, like, as back corner as possible you can be, and was just, like, squeezed in, and I was just like, I couldn't see anyone. I couldn't see Gabby. I couldn't see anybody. I just saw sweaty bodies in front of me. And I was just, like, really just, like, soaking it in at that moment. Like, trying to forget for a second that I even threw this party. Forget that I even lived at the Spleen. And, like, think about what it was like 3 years ago as a freshman, seeing Chameleon Eyes in the basement that packed. I just wanted to enjoy that set. I didn't want to worry about anything other than enjoying that set and appreciating what we could do as the final show. And eventually I did move some people out of the way, and I went up to the front and stood by the side and worked the lights for Chameleon Eyes and just had so much fun. Like, there was this feeling in the basement of no matter how hot and sweaty it was, no matter how uncomfortable you were, no matter how unbearable the room felt in that moment, you weren't going upstairs. Because Chameleon Eyes, first of all, they're so fucking good. Like, you didn't want to miss the music, and you just didn't want to miss, you knew this could never happen again. At least in that basement. That can never, ever, ever happen again. That was it. You did 12 hours, and this is the final hour. You're staying. At the end, I came up with the idea of having all the musicians throughout the day come up and sing with a little help from my friends, unrehearsed, but the point of it wasn't supposed to be rehearsed. The point was supposed to have everybody in the basement singing together with a little help from my friends, and really great. We did Joe Cocker version, and
the confetti cannon.
Yeah, I went and bought 2 confetti cannons, and I couldn't figure out how to work them at the time. I'd never launched a confetti cannon, and I gave them to Sherry, and Sherry set them off, and that was really something. That was like watching the confetti go off. I was like, this is it. This is it. Like, we're singing with a little help from my friends, with all of our friends from 8 years of people with us, for the freshmen.
Almost a whole decade.
That was just insane, singing that song and being there and people hugging each other, and then that note hit, and when that song ended, that was it. We took down the PA, and that was it. That note, that final note of "With a Little Help from My Friends" was the last note of live music the Spleen ever heard. The ones who really were the winners because they got to basically select what they wanted from the Spleen and take shit off the walls and gave out paintings, and then the walls became empty, and that's when it was really like, you know, watching people leave, and it was just like, holy fuck, look what we just did.
This is the cleanest I've ever seen the place.
And like then the people just didn't give a fuck. Then Franco went out onto the porch and played banjo to a crowd of like 20 people, all singing out on the porch and dancing and drum circles, and it was like, if the cops come, the cops come at this point. But they didn't come back. But it was just a day of so many feelings, of highs and lows, where sometimes it just felt like you were at a party, and like you almost forgot for a second, like it was Rupture. And then there was moments where like, oh my god, it's Rupture, like I'm seeing Rootkit Disaster right now. Like I can't even fucking think of the I said that so many times into the mic before I introduced them. Before like most bands, I can't even fucking think of the last time I saw these guys, because it really has been so long, and it was just such a success. I was never too worried because I knew how much this place meant to people, and I knew there would be a nice turnout, and I made sure it was going to be organized and everything. But when something like that happens, and you can pull off something like that, it's definitely just surreal. The whole day was really just a religious experience it was more about the people even than the music. The music was going to happen regardless, but it was really truly a unique once in a lifetime. I don't think I'll ever be to something as to the extent of Rupture ever again, of such a small community coming together. I don't think that will ever happen for me and have the meaning to me like it did. Yes, but it was quite a year. We every show, just sitting here and talking about every show really brought back some amazing memories, and really made me think, wow, it was really an incredible year. Even beyond this year too, before I lived here, I had some great thoughts. So thank you all Spleeners for making this so awesome, and you guys did great, and best of luck to all of you, and I'm sure I will see you all very soon.
Scratch your eye, you can smell me now, floating in your eye. You tried to die in the threshold, but you think I'm just a sty. You shut me out, I'm in public now, together we ride the cow. But for now I ride in your existence, don't you hate my spleen persistence? Spleen!